Hello everyone and welcome on to your immediate post-match reaction to Rangers 2, St Johnstone 0, played at 8 p.m. on a Sunday night, which is absolutely not the ideal kick-off time, but we made it through and we got 3 points on the end of it, so we can't ask for much more. I was joined at the game by Iain Mitchell. Iain, could you just give us your initial reflections on the game?
Yeah, almost that routine win that we want. Pretty comfortable in the end. Obviously got a little scare at the very end with the disallowed goal, but I think it was an okay performance. I think it'd be stretching it to go any further than that. A couple of positives in there player-wise, a couple of negatives again, sadly. But I think overall we were okay, worthy of the win. You would just like a little bit more just to have something more to cling on to, but it's baby steps at this point, as we've been saying for a few podcasts now, so we'll take it and almost forget this night happened kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it is one of those routine ones that come the end of the season you don't really remember it at all. In terms of the starting lineup, we saw Connor Barron drop to the bench, probably rested to manage minutes. We saw Tom Lawrence drop out altogether, injured obviously. So what did you make of the starting lineup? Was it kind of as you expected?
There or thereabouts, yeah. We're kind of limited for options at this point without doing something a bit radical, whether it was moving Jeff to the left wing and trying to kind of work around that sort of thing. So I think given the defence has been pretty good domestically, I'd have to say, since Parkhead, it makes sense to keep that together, so no problems there. Going forward, we got to see Badrami in the 10, which a few people were kind of crying out for. Whether it really worked tonight is another problem, but again, it's just sort of square peg, round holes kind of thing at this point with some of the attacks. So obviously we'll comment it a bit more, but I think there is some good performances in there, some good moments certainly. But starting lineup wise, I wasn't shocked by anything that I saw there, so it's very similar to the team that I would have picked if it were me in charge.
Yeah, one moment I want to pick out actually just before we got on to the game, and it happened before the game started, was when the teams were being read out at Ibrox. Ianis Hagi's name was obviously read out as part of the substitutes bench. Yep. He got a rapturous round of applause from the stands. I asked you at the time, is that a case of absence makes the heart grow fonder? Is that how you kind of assess that? What did you make of that reaction?
It's a very negative slant, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is a little bit. Again, we sort of think of Hagi, we think of the 55 season, we think of the goals, whether it was the goal against Hibs after his debut, the Braga free kick, these little moments. I'm sure there was a St Johnstone 1-0 win that he scored in as well at some point, and that's 55 season. So you think Hagi, you think of those moments, because he is a moments player. There might be 80 odd minutes of no moments and nothing, but that's, like I say, that's what Hagi springs to mind. So a little bit of romanticising about it. You're spot on. There was a massive cheer. Again, not spoil it, but we'll come on to when he came on. That cheer was as big as a goal, really. So the fans did make their voices heard in their sort of stance, and we're well stand in that. But at the end of the day, Hagi is a good player, and we are limited in attack. So I think it is a positive thing for the team that he is back in the fold. Well, I say back in the fold, he might be back out of the fold now, but he got himself back in at the very least.
Yeah, he did, and we'll go on to talk a bit more about Ianis Hagi's performance when we get to the second half. In terms of the first half performance, Iain, I thought we started really well the first 5 minutes.
Yes.
We had a lovely passage of play for the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game, especially where we were playing nice, easy, simple football, passing, moving, but completely different to what we've seen from the team in recent weeks. But outside of that, the first half hour or so felt like a lot of huffing and puffing without actually creating any real clear-cut chances. Is that how you would assess it?
Yeah, I think the first 5 minutes, like you say, you see those sharp passing, you see good movement, good players linking together, whether it's Diomande, Raskin and Badrami. But the telling thing for me is after those 5-10 minutes, I think St Johnstone put is it Matt Smith, I want to say, the number 22, just stuck him on Badrami, and it did sort of just take him out of the game. We started reverting back to that down the wings, cross it in to McCausland a lot of the time. Actually, the ball was coming from the right hand side, trying to find McCausland. Wouldn't be my choice when you're looking for a player to pick out, but it just sort of killed those triangles we were making, those good passages of play in that first 30 minutes. Pretty non-event, to be honest. Obviously there's a Dessers chance in there, I'm sure you'll come on to. The penalty that might have been given, which we've not seen back, so can't really comment on too much, but yeah, huffing and puffing, and the game was needing a goal at that point.
Yeah, fair rushing through my agenda there.
Sorry,
so let's start with the Cyril Dessers goal goal that should have been his chance. Great corner from James Tavernier from the left hand side, curled in. Cyril Dessers is running completely unmarked 6 yards or so out, and it does go a whisker over the bar, but it goes over the bar nonetheless. It really should be 1-0 at that point, and he consistently misses chances like that. Yes, he scores, but it's chances like that when you only get 1 or 2 in a game that really need to be put away.
Yeah, that's the problem with him, isn't it? He's not clinical. He's going to take 2 or 3 chances to find his range, kind of thing. It seems like again that should be 1-0. Granted, it's a header. You can never really control like how the play's coming in. He's having to fight to get there. There's a few factors involved, of course, but he gets a run on it. Just head it down, it's a goal, and he blazes it over. And as I said, that was the only kind of chance that fell to him or anyone for that first 30 minutes. So if that doesn't go in, the crowd starts getting a bit antsy, things get a little tense. You start to think, oh, it's nearly half time here. What's happening? So not ideal.
Shortly after that, there was a ball played in. Cyril Dessers was trying to get to it. I think it was defended pretty easily, but Cyril Dessers ended up on the floor. It's something that we're seeing pretty much every game is Cyril Dessers on the floor complaining his shirt's been pulled, complaining that he's been impeded by the defender, and he's just getting waved away every single time by the referee now. He seems to be building up a bit of a reputation for that at the moment, but from what we understand, this one was a Stonewall penalty from those watching at home. Apparently there was no doubt about it. Defender was all over him and had a handful of his shirt. We've not seen it back, so we're taking that as hearsay. But in that situation, if that is the case, you can almost understand to an extent, but it's not right that the on-field referee is saying just get up, because you're doing this 4 or 5 times a game. But it's where the VAR official should really come in and say, actually, it is a penalty. You should come have a look at it. It's just one of those ones, but it's how much of an impact can Cyril Dessers kind of building that reputation have negatively on us? Yeah,
it's difficult. Again, sitting here, clear view of the situation, I didn't think it was a penalty in live time. Obviously, I'm not as close as the referee is, but you can imagine most of us thought, there's Dessers down again. The referees, they do their own kind of scouting. They know what to look for. They know what players are bad for it. He has got a bit of a reputation going, but we're saying this all without any hindsight there. We've not seen it back. He might get dragged to the ground for all we know. I think the ref does warn them both as well. Might be a different corner, but definitely has some words with Dessers and their centre back about the pulling and the shoving. And so you'd think if he gives him that warning, he's then got eyes on it. So again, you'd hope again, like you're saying, that VAR can get involved, but difficult one to say if we've not seen it. But there is something of a reputation starting to build there, sadly.
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't too long until Rangers did break the deadlock, and it was Mohamed Diomande out the right hand side, plays a nice wee short pass into Vaclav Cerny, who turns, nice wee nutmeg on the St Johnstone defender before curling one into the far left hand corner. A lovely goal, Iain, and Vaclav Cerny, especially after his outburst against Hibs towards the main stand last week. He was in desperate need of a positive performance to show what he can do, and that was the first part of what he did go on to do, which was ended up being a man of the match performance in the stadium. What did you make of that goal, and also his reaction after as part of the celebration? Yeah,
goal itself is lovely. Good bit of skill. The finish is not what we expect from Cerny. That's maybe going a bit too extreme, but it's what we know he's capable of. Obviously done it against Motherwell at Hampden. Lovely finish across the goalie who's got no chance, and it's just that bit of quality that we all thought we'd see a bit more of from Cerny at this point. But great goal. The celebration very telling for me. He runs right over to Clement. Big hug between the two. There's definitely been some man management of some sense in the last few weeks, given how tough a time Cerny's had of it and the outburst he spoke of. So good to see that. And yeah, I think Cerny overall, even out with the goals, was pretty good today. Could have had an assist or two as well. Was a lot more varied in his attacking. Yes, he's obviously going to go his left foot more often than not, but he at least gave the defender that thought of, oh, what if he does go this way? Kind of obviously gets out with the second goal as well, which we'll go into later. But yeah, I thought it was good overall, and that goal was much needed, not only for the player, as we mentioned, but for in here, for the fans. It was getting 34 minutes in kind of thing, getting a bit touchy, a bit nervous because we're not creating anything, so a bit of quality that we needed at a very important time.
Absolutely, and it was 1-0 at the break, which I think was well deserved at that point. And then the big news from the break was the substitutions that were made. We spoke about earlier about the Diomande and Barron swap that happened, and it did seem like they were just designated 45 minutes each of the game, which is understandable.
It was the Dowell and is it Raskin sub from last week's? Yeah, same idea.
Same again. Fluke does quite enjoy a half-time substitute, but the big news was Ross McCausland being brought off and Ianis Hagi coming on to make. I kind of expect him to maybe play for 10 minutes or so today. To see him get a full half was a bit of a surprise, but the roar that he got when he came on, you could tell he was absolutely buzzing about. You could tell the adrenaline was coursing through him as he
a little too much playing. Again, as we'll come on to, but you know.
Yeah, we'll come on to that. But he was keeping it for all that was the case. He was keeping it fairly simple early on, just nice easy passes, playing himself into the game, and then he really lit up with a wonderful assist. He fizzed it into.
Had a moment. That's what he does.
He had a moment. He fizzed it into Vaclav Cerny at the right edge of the box. Cerny opens his body and takes the ball towards goal in one easy movement. Takes it onto his right foot, which is a strange one for Vaclav Cerny and himself. But he slides it into across the goalkeeper into the bottom left-hand corner. 2-0 Rangers, and it was a second goal that Rangers always. You always feel like Rangers need just to feel that
just
wee
to
bit
calm
more
us all down and make us breathe a little bit smoother. I think it was quite an easy sub to make. Obviously McCausland didn't have a great game, wasn't very effective, I have to say. He's playing on his weaker side. I don't like McCausland on the left personally. I think he's got good qualities on the right, helps Tavernier on the right, he can link the play a little better. And as a left winger, just doesn't quite have that guile to cut inside. It becomes a little predictable. So I think it was an easy sub to make. And Hagi, for what it's worth, was pretty good while he was on the pitch. Again, good passing, just tidy. This is just what Hagi is. He's a good footballer. You can see that he can go either way. He can link the play, and I think he was decent without being good. Is maybe how I'd coined that one. Up until he was bad, I guess we need to say.
Yeah, I think bad's a bit unfair. Probably just a bit leggy, but we'll go on to that in a second. A couple of players that I wanted to come on to at this stage. Firstly, Nico Raskin. He played in what seemed to be a much more defined number 6 role tonight, and I thought he did really well in it. I think tonight was much more of what I want to see from Nico Raskin. And he broke up play really well. He was snapping in about tackles to try and win the ball back. He was moving the ball quickly when he got it. He wasn't taking too long on it, and he was driving his teammates on as well. I think that was very much the type of Nico Raskin performance that I want to see much more often. Was it promising signs from your perspective as well? Yeah,
it was an interesting one because he did seem to be sitting deeper than Diomande in the first half and then Barron in the second half. It was very much a defensive mid number 6 kind of thing. It wasn't just the two guys beside each other, which I did think helped his game because it just kind of made it a bit more straightforward. Your role is do this, pass here, kind of thing, which Raskin, again, the negative for Raskin over the last year or so has been that he's not very progressive with his passing. It's always very safe. It looked like tonight he was trying to get away from that a little bit, trying to play it like maybe it was up the wing or through the centre of the park a good few times. So probs and signs, and with Raskin you're going to get a good tackler. He wins the ball back an awful lot for such a small guy. So he's done well for us for that sense. I wouldn't say it was quite a man of the match performance. Obviously we'll come on to who that was shortly, but it was a pretty solid performance for a guy who's not played 90 minutes in quite a long time, we'll say. Yeah,
absolutely. The other player I wanted to touch on, mainly because he was brought off as a substitution straight in the aftermath of the second goal, was Cyril Dessers. It felt like a wee bit of a night to forget for Cyril Dessers. He didn't really manage to make any sort of mark on the game. What did you make of his performance tonight, and is it just one of those ones that we do get from Cyril Dessers every now and again?
It's a strange one for Dessers for me tonight, because normally we're lambasting him for missing chances and being wasteful, and yes, he has that header which we talked about, but beyond that, there's one sort of half chance he has in the second half here just before he comes off with the ball. He's cutting him across him, and rather than just shooting, he does cut back, which we know he does, but I just think he wasn't really involved much, whether it was pretty sort of average hold-up play, wasn't pressing very well, just wasn't involved in the game. And even as we're saying, usually he's got great movement and he can make himself chances just through that movement and players finding him. I don't know. The one thing I will sort of caveat all that with is he's got a good development relationship with Lawrence that we've seen the last month or two. No Lawrence tonight, so he's having to get used to a new number 10, different wingers that he's not used to, so a couple of excuses in there maybe, but your striker's going to have a bad game here and there, and if he does, you need someone else to step up, and thankfully for us, that's what Cerny's done tonight.
Yeah, he was replaced by Hamza Gaman in that last half an hour. Who I thought actually looks like more of a threat up front.
He's busier.
Compared to Cyril Dessers. He's busier. He gets in the right positions. Every shot he hits seems to get blocked. But I just feel like as soon as he's able to get that first goal, he'll then start motoring, and you can see he's getting fitter and more up to speed with Scottish football as well. In that last half hour, Ian, we're 2-0 up. How disappointing is it that we don't keep pushing for more goals?
Yeah.
We seem to always manage the game through at that stage. We always reverted back to that first half hour of play where we're huffing and puffing again, but not creating too many clear-cut chances, if any at all. How frustrating is that as a fan to not see us push on? And actually, we've seen before how important goal difference can be, and it's always kind of in the back of our minds that when it comes down to the end of the season, it can be decisive. And it's these games like tonight where you feel like, okay, right, we're 2-0 up, half an hour to go on, get a third, a fourth, a fifth. But it's not something that we did, and it's not something that we really do as a team at the moment.
No, it was more surprising for me because I think we all thought that at 2-0, like, okay, let's go on, let's hammer them basically. But you looked at the team, you thought, okay, Igamani wants a goal, he'll be up for this. Hagi just back, he's got a point to prove. There's players on the pitch that should have wanted to do that as well. It wasn't just right, that's 2-0, let's just see this out kind of thing. But we shouldn't have been. But we just don't do that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a style thing. I don't know if it is just a case of the players were a little tired after Thursday night, which was a tough shift. You have to say that was ran into the ground, a few of them. But with the rotation and just the players who were on the pitch, expected a little bit more. But this is the kind of thing you complain about when you are behind in a title race. It's the kind of thing you complain about when things aren't all rosy. If we were top of the league, for example, and won that game 2-0, we're maybe not having this conversation. But is that linked together? That's where the problem is. Yeah,
potentially that is the case, and it's that perspective that's creating that. But I also like to see Rangers score goals, so
it'd be nice.
It'd be nice to see us score as many as possible in each game. We were managing the game through, I think it's fair to say, until the 80th minute, the early 80 minutes.
We got our drama.
When Ianis Hagi on the halfway line seems to go in a bit high and on one of the St Johnstone players. Someone around us described it as he just seemed a bit over-eager, but also lacking match sharpness. We saw the replay. It looks horrible on the boy's ankle. It looks a bad one. It looks a definite red card. Hagi was gutted gutted in his reaction as he walked off, and he'd had a positive night up until that point. What did you make of the red card, and how, I guess, unfortunate or disappointing is it that it was Ianis Hagi that it fell to?
Had to be. That's the whole panto thing. That's what you come here for. It's a hard one for us because we've got a great view where we are of the tackle itself, but it was the sound the tackle made, which was the thing for me that just kind of clicked. That think, this is trouble here. It was a proper clatter, if I want a better phrase. It was just again, are you over eager? You just try to get the crowd back up, snapping at a tackle, but pretty reckless by looks of it. As soon as the VAR picture comes up, it's a red card. Like, don't go there and not send him off these days. So he'll be disappointed. The main plus for me and all that though is that I was a little nervous of how Clement would handle that, because the narrative has been, is it Clement doesn't fancy Hagi? Is it that he's not wanting him involved? Is there something else going on here? Whereas first person to try and console Hagi was Clement. Big cuddle, little word. You imagine it's just simply saying, don't worry about it, it's something that can happen kind of thing. And it just touches back to what we said about Cerny, the whole man management thing. Something Clement has clearly got a good profile for and does handle pretty well, so I don't see any major issues in the back, that kind of thing. So just over eager. We'll rule out for that.
Fingers crossed that is absolutely the case. It wouldn't be Rangers if there wasn't slightly more drama after that. We seemed a bit of sixes and sevens defensively for a few minutes following the red card. And St Johnstone did have the ball in the back of the net. Nicky Clark at the back post smashed the ball low past Jack Butland. Thought it was 2-1. The assistant then gave it as offside. Looked really tight from where we were. It was so tight that VAR was taking 20, 30, 40 seconds to look at it. From what we've heard from people at home, we've not seen a replay of it, but from what we heard from people at home, the lines that were drawn were maybe looked a wee bit dodgy. So that one may have gone a wee bit in our favour, which is always welcome, because Iain, if you're only 2-1 ahead with 6 minutes left, 7 minutes left, plus stoppage
bit more
time.
than that, I think, yeah.
Plus stoppage time. It's always going to be a really nervy finish to the game, but thankfully that wasn't what we were facing into.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter who you're against. If it's 2-1, they've got a man advantage. They could just lump it in the box, and the anxiety levels of this stadium would have been excruciating. So very grateful that VAR led to nothing. And again, we touched on it at the start, but it's another clean sheet for this defence. It's one that I'm not going to say it's a makeshift defence, because it's a pretty settled back four, back five, if you include Butland in that now. And they are doing pretty well. And if your defence can keep clean sheets, you've got enough firepower in this team to at least get a goal or two. That's how you make the baby steps of progress that we're all kind of crying out for. So keep getting clean sheets. I will be a happy man.
Yeah, if we can keep clean sheets in every single game to end the season,
really
that'd
nice.
be
I'd enjoy
really
that,
nice. Yeah. Vaclav Cerny got man of the match in the stadium. Score 2 goals. It tends to be the case that you're going to get man of the match. Did you think his overall performance deserved that?
I think so. Yeah, the match winner. So it's a pretty easy decision. I thought Jeffrey was pretty good as well. I thought Raskin was good, as we mentioned. Beyond that, there's not too much to shout about. But
I thought Suter and Proper were really
were
good.
fine. Yeah, they were fine. But he scored 2 goals, 2 good goals as well. Especially the first one, real quality in that. And I touched on it before. He had good play in amongst that. He could have had an assist or two. So I think he was a pretty deserving man of the match, and that's got to do his confidence the world of good. I know we're off now for 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is. So that's great. But
you're not off. Rangers are. But we're not
yeah, I'd love to be. But no, it can only be good for him. Because the thing is that Hagi's came back in here, right? Cerny's going to have an eye behind him thinking, oh, hang on, his kind of main position has been right winger.
Yeah.
Got McCausland obviously chasing him down as well, so that's a little bit of competition which we want. So Cerny has to step up. Maybe hasn't done it quite as much as we want recently, but certainly did tonight, so fully valid for that man of the match.
He definitely did. So Rangers run out 2-0 winners over St Johnstone here at Ibrox on this Sunday night. We will wrap up the post-match reaction podcast there. It's actually the second time we've recorded it due to audio issues, so hopefully it has worked this time. But thank you very much everyone for listening. Thank you very much to Iain for joining me here on the gantry tonight. Please do drop a like in the video if you have enjoyed the content. Please do subscribe to the TII YouTube channel or across our audio platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Spotify, Apple Music or any of the other places. Means you won't miss out on any of the upcoming content from the TII team across the channel. We'll be back on Wednesday night, followed by Sunday night as well next week, both live on YouTube, and you'll be able to catch that on all the audio platforms shortly after that as well. So thank you very much everyone for listening. Until next time.